Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Something Super Spiritual. I have got a real gem for us today. Roland Buddhahawk, I want to thank you so much for being here with me. You guys, Roland is a force of beautiful energy that is just a light that this world needs. So we want to hear everything about you and your journey and where you came from and how all of this energy work came into your field and how you're working with it. It is having the experience with Reiki myself. That's my own personal, kablam. That was the impetus
Right.
to my whole awakening. So I'm very, very happy to have you here. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you very much for such a amazing intro. I'm like, wow. Are you talking about me? So yeah. So thank you very much for that. That was really cool. So let's talk, I guess, about my journey. We'll just kind of
Yeah,
jump into
yeah.
that.
So
Um,
you do energy work, you do healing work,
I do.
you are a Reiki master. I saw
Hmm.
that you are also working with the IET, the integrated energy therapy. Is that what it's
There,
called?
correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
it's which is yeah, go ahead.
and you're kind of blending the modalities into whatever is working for you. I love that. So I also read that this has been you've recognized the energy your whole life. So what was your childhood like with respect to the spiritual energy?
Um, well, if you don't know any better, it's normal. So that's the best way to put that. So as a kid, I was definitely able to see things, see spirit. Like I would see people and I knew there were people and I knew spirit was next to them. Um, I was able to hear, I understood the difference. And as I got older, that difference kind of started to shift because I didn't want to be part of it anymore. I wanted to fit in like a regular kid. I didn't want to be afraid of anything anymore. Like it was more, I just wanted to be with friends. And I couldn't have friends because they thought I was weird, a freak.
Yeah.
And I tried real hard just to be a regular person. So I was trying hard. Like I would hear things and I'm like, no, I don't want to hear it. No, I don't want to hear it. And then life goes on.
Yeah.
It never left, but um, the only way I would actually hear anything is like they had to say things very loud, and then I would hear stuff. So that was an interesting point. Like I was always interested with metaphysical stuff, paranormal stuff, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster. I was always interested in all these crazy things.
Sure.
But I forgot about my connection as a kid. I forgot about a lot of things as a kid. Life goes on, 20s, 30s. It got a little crazy as far as not crazy, but I mean, as far as my connection or any idea that I had one, it was gone. Up until 2004, broke off a relationship and quit a job in the same week. I had an opportunity to drive a car cross country. Um, and somewhere by Memphis, I started seeing in my head Arizona. It was flashing like a neon light. And at that time, I was like, what am I looking at? What's happening here? Um, and so I changed my direction to now then go to Arizona, which of course, after Arizona's in my head, now Sedona's in my head. And the only thing I knew about Sedona was the vortexes out there energetically.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, I asked her to find me a guide. She did. Um, I met up with the guide. It's something I would never do again to any medium, healer, or such. She asked me, so what would you like to do? And I'm like, you're the psychic, you tell me. Never would I do that again. That's so terrible. But anyway, she took me on this tour through Bell Rock Canyon, and we went to an area where she said the energies or energy lines crossed, and you could feel it as you moved. And that for me at that time, because I mean, I'm still skeptical, but when I feel energy, I get crazy excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
In this instance, I was like, okay, that's weird. Everything was weird. And then she did some breathing exercise for me to help me with the relationship to release that. And then she had me expanding my energy, but that was crazy. That was all of a sudden I felt my spirit shoot out of my body and like go out into the sun, and I just kept going and going. And the next thing you know, I'm just the best way to describe it is hundreds and hundreds of pictures were like I was just seeing them and feeling them. I felt my body. I was like shaking. It was nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the memories of when I was younger. It was I found remembered about my cat Mittens, where it was clawing home. It was just almost she was almost falling over. She got in a fight with the crazy cat lady's cats. She had like 20 cats, so she was an outdoor cat, and she I remember was just about to fall over, couldn't meow, just really in bad shape, banged up, bloody. And I remember I was about 4 years old. I remember I gently picked her up, and I remember I just held her. And I always see, even now, I always see a big ball of light, and I have to ask the big ball of light to help the person, to place the animal. Then the big ball of light moves over me, and then the energy flows through. And so I did that for Mittens for about, I want to say maybe 10 minutes. And then I put her on her pillow. And the next day she had 3 birds that she left for gifts. And she was in and out of my legs, no scratches, no problem at all. Like nothing happened.
Wow.
And she was like a dog after that. She followed me everywhere.
How old were you?
4.
Oh my God, you're kidding.
No. So that's the earliest memory. And that's the really trippy part about what happened out in Arizona, and that was in 2004, is that all of these other memories, family members that would come home, and if they like hurt themselves or broke, I would just know and come over there and just, put my hands over there and then tell them it's going to be okay. I didn't know any better. So interesting things like that was happening, but I didn't know that something was right or wrong. I just knew. And that's kind of where I left it. So it wasn't until I was older that I kind of re-embraced all this again.
Yeah.
That was 2015 to be exact. My first expo, I came out as a healer. But all that time between 2004 and 2015, I was secretly trying to remember how to do all this stuff again. And like I remember I worked in a law firm with a friend of mine. Uh, and she had a bad shoulder pain she had for years. And then I remember I was watching her, and I was like, all right, let me try something. She said, what are you going to do? I'm like, just sit there and do your work. And I just put my hand up by her back, and I remember um, this warmth. I felt it going down into her, like beyond the muscle. And she goes, I feel that heat. And she goes, wow, it's going past the muscle. I was like, wow, I'm feeling what you're talking about. This is nuts. Anyway, I came back to her. I only did that for like 5 minutes, and I came back to her, and she's like, oh my God, I forgot I had the pain. So of
Ah,
course I want to experiment more.
sure.
And so there was a lot of experimenting. Um, and not really sure where I kind of fit in was a thing. So it took some more experimenting, but then I started to actually realize what I was doing. And in that process, I ended up doing Reiki Master. But even that was different. Like, I don't know, with Reiki, you have they the teacher, he gave me visuals, and one of them was just basically, and I'm sure everybody kind of learns a little different, what I've understand since.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, but you have the visual comes down to your heart, and then it bring it out to your hands. That's what he taught us. And for whatever reason, in my visuals, I couldn't do that. It would stop at my heart, and I was like, well, I'm trying, nothing's happening. What? Come on. Uh, but what ended up happening was then I started to pay attention as it was sitting in my heart, the energy, and then like looked like this fire was swirling down, and when it came down around all that energy, when it came down to my heart, it looked like a serpent almost, but it wasn't. But when it got to my heart, it's like there was explosion. It went all crazy, went down into the ground, came back up, and then it came out my hands, and I was like,
Oh,
what just happened? What's going on here? And I remember I had to try to work on this girl, and I'm seeing this visualization, the visualization happening, and I'm like, do you? what do you, she got up. She's like, Roland, you're burning my face off. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She goes, no, I love it. Keep doing it. I'm like, okay. So now it's a whole other layer of exploration, you know? And so now I'm starting to learn about all these modalities and how they work. And some of them I could be like, oh, I could do that, you know, not
Yeah.
trying to be like, but I was trying to be a sponge to understand how
Sure.
other people do it. But
Mhm.
my default, even to this day, even more one-on-ones, my group healings, clearing a house, whatever the case is, my visualization is always the same as far as asking a ball of light. I still see that ball of light every day in my mind's eye. It's just there.
That is
Never,
incredible.
it's never gone anywhere. But the interesting thing is that I have to ask the ball of light as the 4-year-old. If I try to merge us, no. If I try as myself now, no. I have to be the 4-year-old. And when I say have to be, that means that I have to have that innocence. I have to have that pure love in order for that ball of light to come over me and then flow out of me.
That's
So
beautiful. That is beautiful.
yeah.
So the ball of light that you experience, do, do you recognize that as a consciousness? Do you recognize that as like source, spirit, um, God, um, or angels, or maybe an aspect of you, maybe your high self, you know, like, or maybe it's one and all in one, you know, what?
So basically, I was just going to answer your question by saying yes, you
Uh-huh.
know, to all of it,
Yes.
because
Yep.
all I know is that I trust it. I just trust it. I've
Yeah.
trusted it all my life and nothing. And also, if I get messages, like it comes into my head from the back right of my head. So
Mhm.
if I get any information, I'll I'll perceive it here. Anything else outside from that, I have to check into that energy. But I know when it comes in here, it's what I trust.
It's awesome.
And
Yeah.
this is an all, you know, all my life kind of thing. Even when I wasn't paying attention, apparently I was paying attention. But so
So, what year was it then when you saw your Reiki master? When did that happen?
I want to say that was 2013,
Okay,
2014.
got
Like
it.
it was later on, but I did a lot of experimenting with stuff like
Mhm.
house plants
Yeah.
that didn't get a lot of sun, you know,
Mhm.
just giving it that love feeling, it flowed
Oh yeah.
through that energy, you know.
Yeah.
Definitely would always love being in nature with the trees,
Hmm.
uh, and and remembering what I was like as a little kid, and I still have it. I was just with my daughter today. We were walking around some area with a bunch of woods, and I was like running around like I shouldn't be running around anywhere like that, but I was like a little kid. I was excited.
Yeah.
If I had a tail, it was wagging.
Yeah.
But it was just, and I just can. It's just like I just breathe it in. I just bring it in, and it just it fills me up. And as much as it fills me up, it goes back out. So it's
Yeah.
this beautiful cycle. And as a little kid, that's all I did. That's what, you know, there's this
Oh,
little area I used to go all the time. And
you know,
so
it,
go
it
ahead.
it speaks volumes to that childlike innocence within each one of us. It speaks volumes to that childlike purity, that curiosity that children have, that is just so pure, and everything is their authentic truth in that mindset, you know, and they're just sponges. And yeah, I love that visual and that experience, because I feel very deeply with my own childlike wonder. You know, I can have fun in
Yeah.
a paperback. you know.
Yeah, yeah. And listen, but there's so, and I think that's, you know, it's just, I feel with a lot of these modalities, and I'm not putting anybody's modality down because the only thing that matters is if we're able to help somebody to help themselves or help
Mhm,
somebody get through a moment. You know, that's
mhm,
really what matters. My ego can go out the window and anybody else's nonsense can go out the window too. Let's
mhm.
just help the person. You know, that's it.
Absolutely.
I don't,
Mhm.
you know, so, but you know, people have asked me to teach them stuff, and how do you? All right, envision a ball of light and ask the ball of light to move over you to help somebody. They're taught. I don't know how. Yeah, there you go. Give me $100. I don't know. But it's just, but all the difference I feel with a lot of these modalities where they overcomplicate something that's meant to be simplistic and actually innate for a human person,
Totally.
that we've lost touch with so much. Um,
Mhm.
we can access all that. We don't need to, again, I'm not discouraging anybody from learning a modality, because
Mhm.
I understand that it definitely kickstarts things with people.
Yep.
It helps with their connection. It
Yep.
helps, it helps with a lot of things. But I just also understand that when we're emotional is really when there's these major, uh, if for lack of anything, like an emotional trauma will reflect and open up some sort of a psychic or spiritual gift for that moment. It's just like the mom who's, getting dinner ready, cutting stuff up, and she knows something happened to her child.
Right.
She just knows out of nowhere, And that's like in the idea with Reiki, it gives you that insight that helps to open it a little more.
Mhm.
But I just think if we allow ourselves with that simplicity, whatever it looks like for everybody else, whatever it is, but remember what you were like as a child. If you can remember that, even if there was trauma as a child, if you can remember those moments of purity that you had, and if you could bring that forward, I think,
Oh my gosh. You
go
know what? That just rang a bell. I've got to tell a story since we're talking
ahead.
about our child, our inner child.
Yeah.
So, the life that I've had, the traumas that I've experienced growing up gay in the 80s and struggling through all of that, and acceptance, self-love, all of that, has been a lifelong journey for me, a lifelong journey. And I've struggled throughout all of that with depression and anxiety, stemmed directly from all of that experience.
Right.
And moving into this work, after I became attuned to Reiki in 2006, it ignited all the spiritual senses. Kablam! I thought I was losing my mind, but things were happening, like you were talking about. Like I felt it. It felt like a
Right.
fire hose coming out of my hands, and
Yep.
my mom was like, "Your hands are like a heating pad."
Yeah. Yep.
And so all of these really wondrous, miraculous experiences, I was still feeling very insecure, doubting myself, struggling with guilt and shame of not being enough or this or that, whatever. I mean, really, I'm still, I see therapists, I'm still been struggling with it. In this last 2 months, I've been doing this new treatment with Mind Bloom. It's a ketamine therapy to work with the neuroplasticity
Okay.
synapse, whatever ways. So
Yeah.
my whole point in telling the story, the very first experience I had with this, you take the medicine, it's microdosing, and then you go into what I experienced as like it's like a forced meditation. You
Okay.
go into this space. Immediately, I saw my toddler self, like 3 years old. And I loved on that little boy. And I was crying the first 10 minutes of this session. And I just loved on that little boy. And I was telling him everything's going to be okay. And you are enough. And don't ever think this. And immediately I remembered what it felt like before experiencing and before being exposed to doubt, to shame, to guilt, to fear. I remembered what it felt like on my insides. And to be able to access that in today's world with that
Yeah.
inner child and that purity, oh my God, it's
Right.
changed everything. It's changed everything, and we all have access to that.
Yes. It's some people, obviously, like I said, there's certain parts that you don't want to remember, and sometimes you can't even remember, but how important, and that's what I find with a lot of people that I work with, physical pain, illnesses, if we can bring it back to some time in their childhood, and that's what I'm trying to help them pull out, is that emotion, and to replace it with, so it can seem like you're watching a movie
Yeah.
without having the emotional experience. I mean, Is it always successful? No, but I mean, I do the best that I can. There's only so much. It's not Roland doing it, and
Hmm.
that's a big thing too. You know,
Yeah.
it's definitely not me. It's what's flowing through me, and also the person. The person might not be so willing, you know, and there's a whole other thing too. But think about this now: before you do your sessions, if you envision that little boy just saying, "I'm going to help this person," see what that energy feels like
Oh my
when it flows
goodness.
through,
Mhm.
and to see the difference, because there
Oh,
will be a difference.
I can already feel it. Like I just
Yeah,
thinking about it, I can already feel it. And
yeah,
it's wow.
yeah.
Thank you. That was an aha moment for me. And I think an aha moment for a lot of people who are watching and listening. I mean, that's just it's beautiful.
It could be, but a lot of people like to stick to a textbook scenario, and
That's
it's
true.
not their fault. It's
Hmm.
not their fault. It's just kind of what they're taught, and their, you know, lineage, and it sounds very grand, but we're human beings, and this is what we do. If, you know, you cut yourself or a child gets hurt, the first thing is to put your hand over. Why? To protect it, to help it heal. That's your love. You're putting love down. So if we're moving all of that innocence and love towards anything that's happening, what's there not, what can we not heal? You know, it's just a matter of paying attention to allow that to course through you, flow through you, gentle, simple. And with all these modalities that are out there, all these ones that I learned, honestly, I was getting confused.
Oh, sure.
And so I just, it's not that I got selective. I just really, me and that 4-year-old boy sat me down. He's like, "We got to talk." And I was like, "What happened?" He's like, "You just be you, just be me." And I was, oh, you want to talk about tears? I'm like, "You
Oh,
got me, kid. You
oh,
got,
yeah. That
yeah,
makes me emotional.
yeah, yeah. Can trust me. I understand." So, um, I, I understand how impactful it is. And but I mean, it's always for me, everything is an experiment, or
Mhm.
let's just see how we do, or let's see what happens. Um, Everything for me is just, I am that little boy.
Yeah.
I am that little boy, you know? And
Oh,
so that's what I
wow.
got. That's how I flow. Yeah,
Thank you for that. That was really, really awesome.
my
So,
pleasure.
in moving forward, then, when did the IET come into your
That was
experience?
right. And there's a whole story behind the Reiki, which I could share with you at another time. It's not something I'd like to put out on that. But Reiki first, I got Reiki 1, then I actually learned IET Basic,
Hmm.
which is very similar to Reiki, except it has archangels that you connect with.
Okay.
And the visual for that for me, this was funny because it was like Cheech and Chong, but Tommy Chong. They were all in gowns, uh, basically very regal. They all had long-haired beards, and they all talked like, "Hey, man," like they just smoked a tree. And and I was at a cliff, and they were on a cloud, and they're like, "Hey, man, just take that step, man. Come on over, man. Like it's all right." And I'm like, "But there's no steps. You just have to have faith, man." They're like, I'm not kidding. This was my visual and during this attunement for this stuff. And so when I took the step appeared,
Oh
took
my God,
another
Roland.
step appeared. Yeah.
Wow.
It was just a wild experience. And I got over to the cloud. They're like, "What took so long, man?" But the way they were talking was what really, and even the way they looked, it almost looked cartoonish in real life, like clothing wise and whatnot. But the visuals, I'm a very visual person. I don't know. Do you
Hmm.
see a lot of stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I just know I don't take any drugs, but I always wondered what it would like if I were to do any kind of plant medicine that would
Hmm.
put me in like that, or the, you know, the frog medicine. I can't imagine what else I would see, because what goes on in my mind, if I could plug it into a TV, was
Oh.
nuts.
Hmm.
So you got me curious about that, but I'm very going to be very picky about that move whenever that
Hmm.
happens. because you want the right people. But
You
yeah,
know,
very visual, very visual.
you're freaking me out a little bit, because I had the exact same experience in a meditation, probably, I don't know, 15, 16, a long time ago, where I was taken to an edge of a bluff. You know, the bluff that overlooks the ocean, and
Uh-huh.
it's like 200 or 300 feet down to the
Yep.
beach.
Mhm.
I was looking down, and the beings that I was with wanted me to take that step. And I was like,
Yep.
well, I'm not taking that step. And they're like, take the step. Trust. And finally I just was like, fine. I took the step, and boom, a step appeared. I took another step, boom, a step appeared, all the way down. And I was like, this
Wow.
is a metaphor for life. This is a metaphor for
Yes.
work. This is a metaphor for the trusting and surrender to spirit and surrender. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It just like
Yeah.
for you to have that same thing. Wow. Wow.
And this is why we connected. This is
I
awesome.
know.
But it's, you know, one of the things also realize talking about healings and healers, some of your best healers have been through the most stuff, and their experiences, obviously, and listen, I'm not always the nicest person out there, but if I know somebody needs something, when I connect with that person, I have a completely different understanding. And I can
Mhm.
almost relate with just about everything that anybody has been through.
Yeah.
And so with that happening, once that connection and once the realization of like I'm connecting with you about that, it's it 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 just adds that extra layer of like I do understand
Yeah.
more than you know.
Oh, completely.
And and sometimes I'll even share my experience just
Mhm.
so they feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
So, and allowing that, people talking together one on one, we forget the art of communication. We're so lost in phones, and I'm guilty of it too. But
Mhm.
because I'm doing this full time now, uh, the opportunity to just communicate one on one, even for a few minutes, sometimes is just magical if we
Yeah.
allow it.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Is all of this is just allowing, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah. Sorry, I went off on a tangent a bit, but
It's okay. Because what you said was so beautiful, and it speaks volumes in doing this work, because we are in service to spirit. We are in service to the people in front of us. We are in service to each other. We are so much better together. And when we are able to tap in to the heart field and see through the lens of compassion and empathy, where we can understand and recognize where this person's been through without judgment, that's tapping into that unconditional love. That's tapping into that field, that real field. Here's the thing: whatever anybody's done or did or said or been, who's to say the rest of us might not have done the exact same thing if we walked every step in their shoes?
oh yeah,
you know and
oh yeah,
and when we're able to access that field of unconditional love, and we're able to see through that lens of compassion and just hold the space and say, hey, I'm here, I get it, you're good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's powerful.
Yeah.
It's just that simplicity again, how
Mhm.
powerful, how amazing.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
all want to be seen. We all need to be heard and just
Hmm.
witnessed, and let me hold your hand. It's all good.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
else has
I'm
got
right
me
here.
over here. And I
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
you.
That's it.
Yeah.
But again, I think we forget so much, and even to ask for help sometimes,
Oh, totally.
people, we lose our ways at times. So,
Mhm.
and it's never an intentional thing, but it happens for people, unfortunately. And that's why we're here, just
It's
like so
true.
many,
Mhm.
we're here to help people. So
It is, and
much
we're here to have
gratitude.
this conversation and
Yes.
and and share with people, and the people that are going to be hearing this and listening to this are divinely guided. And it's a really powerful conversation to be had. All of these are. It's why we do what we do, just to hope, inspire spirit and inspire curiosity of our own spirit and connection to
Yes.
each other. So, yeah, thank you. It's
Yeah.
really awesome.
Pleasure.
So Roland, so what is then like what is your work consist of today? Like do you do one-on-one healings? You do group healings. You
Yes.
mentioned that earlier.
Yep.
And what is
Mhm.
that like?
The group healing.
Hmm.
The group healing is one of my favorite things to do. Um, so group healings is I've done the most I've done so far is 80 people.
Okay.
Um, but I usually do anywhere between 10 and I want to say 25 people. Depends on, where I am, the group. And it's one of those things is even though I have this description of what it is, the description will never match what the um what it actually is.
Hmm.
So but basically again, my descriptions I try to be very simple. But if I have 10 people in the room, right, I'm asking each person just the things they'd like to work on. And so they tell me all their things. So we're working on all those things, but also we're working as a collective.
Hmm.
So everybody's energy kind of gets moved in this direction. And then it's like overtones of music. There's music involved too, but I mean, just the overtones. So like things start happening, like you start to feel confidence for as a group, and then people will start seeing things. Um, like if somebody sees a horse, another person may like be like, "Oh, I saw a horse," and then the horse became a Pegasus, and then the other person would be like, "Yeah, I was on a Pegasus flying around, and then I was on a dragonfly," and it's crazy how that connection starts to happen. But
Oh,
that's when I sit back and I be like, "That's what I was talking about."
yeah.
But the really cool part of it is, and this is all an evolution also. Um, the beginnings of this was just the idea to open channels for mediums. Um, that was the idea of it. I said, hey, let's try something. I got this music and I want to see if I can help everybody open up their antennas for medium, in your mediumship when you do your gallery in a little while. Let's see. And so that happened. But people were having these amazing experiences and reactions. And I'm like, oh, so more experimentation has now evolved into still so fun for me. Like again, my tail is wagging when I have the opportunity to do it, which I've been grateful that it's been going well so far. It's been very well received. But the music is very much cinematic. It's what they call epic music. It's like
Yep.
Lord of the Rings. Some of it,
Mhm.
it really that music plus the energy just take you on this journey, visual journey
Mhm.
that people tell me that was intense sometimes. Sometimes people tell me like what they saw divine things and they saw family members they haven't seen. Everybody's experience is always different.
Mhm.
But for me, I gotta tell you, there's nothing like it. And I don't know, and I can't say that I'm the only one doing it, but I am saying that I have a lot of fun doing it. And
Yeah.
it's very experimental, but it's becoming more of a fun thing. I don't know who else does this, and I would love to find out who does because I think there's one person I'd like to check out that does something similar. So
Mhm.
we'll get to that. I'll get to that eventually, but that is so fun. But the one-on-ones is something I do. I now work like since November. I'm doing this full time out of a holistic doctor's office.
Okay.
Um, yeah, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, and in New Jersey, in Wayne, New Jersey. So I'm very grateful for that. So between the two, now I'm, free of a actual job, because now this isn't a job, this is a passion, this is a love.
Mm. I
My friend would always say this is a hobby, this is a side thing, and I'm less like, you don't get it. This
no,
is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is a
totally.
calling, and they're not going to understand it, but
Mm-mm.
I still respected, him, uh, what
Sure.
he had to say.
Yeah.
But which actually, in its own way, kind of add a little fuel under, a little fire under my butt to kind of make this happen a little better.
Sure.
But I'm happy that I'm here. And since November, like I said, there's things to learn, learning curves, summertime, peaks and valleys of things. But aside from that, though, just what there's a woman just recently last week on Tuesday. I'm sorry, excuse me, Wednesday. Um, there was a group healing with 11 people. This one woman, she has tooth pain, and I just got an email from her. She says it's definitely less painful now from this group healing, and just she was so grateful of the experience, and I'm just like, this is amazing. And so she's definitely going to be a repeater. Um, and that's what's, that's just beautiful to hear. But it's interesting though, because the one-on-ones are much different. They could be intense, but sometimes it's more about that moment when I use a zero gravity chair versus a massage table. So
Okay.
much nicer and easier. And I have music behind you, and it's like this music surrounds you, so it's not
Oh, that's
overwhelming. It's very relaxed.
beautiful.
Oh, I have to take pictures for you and show you what I've done now. It's like, what did I do now? Because I can't leave it alone. So now I put speakers on either side of your head. There's a speaker behind your head. There's a speaker underneath you on the zero gravity chair. So you're just enveloped in the healing music, because I use frequency music. Um, and and like one of my favorites is, like, I have one of beach. It's just a beach with frequency music, 528 hertz. But
Beautiful.
on YouTube, and that's all from YouTube, but
Hmm.
you don't know, if the music is actually what it says it is.
Hmm.
So what I have to do is actually, like, if I'm sitting with somebody, I'll actually have to go through three, four, maybe five songs to feel if it feels right with if the body likes it, or if we're working on something particular. I'm like, does this resonate with you? And I'm asking in my head, like, no, no. And I'm like, oh, that's the one. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh, I really like this one. I'm like, I know. So, um, so that's pretty cool how that happened.
I want to get on a
Uh,
plane to New Jersey like now.
come on down. There's a lot of fun stuff in that office. It's a
Oh,
small little office, but
yeah.
the doctor is amazing.
It's really
So
beautiful.
yeah,
You
just
know,
great stuff.
I love the group stuff like you were talking about. I love the
Yeah.
group stuff. And here's why. I mean, because and everybody's heard me say this 1,001 times. We are so much stronger together. We're so much better together. And when we come together in a group, like my experiences with groups over the last 15, 16, 17 years, being a meditator, especially after working with the energy after 2006, I know how my meditations feel, right? I know how they feel. And they feel
Yeah.
great. I love my meditations. I love the visuals. I love the places I go. But when you're with a group of people, the most I've been with is about 240 people. And we were in
Wow.
Hawaii for a spiritual workshop of like 5 days, right? When
Wow.
everybody is there with that same intention and everybody's together and you go into that meditation together with that same intention, the power amplifies in a way that just, like, I suppose one would feel from ayahuasca or like something like
Yeah.
physically altering mind. You know what oh my gosh. So
Yeah. It's amazing.
when you're talking about the groups and how you talked about so and so experiencing this horse and then it turned into Pegasus and somebody else was riding the Pegasus at the same time, all this was traveling through their fields. I experienced the same thing in that group of 240 people. I saw what I saw. I went where I went. And all of a sudden, when it was over, people started speaking up. Did anybody else see this? Did anybody else see this? And everybody's like, what? Holy cow, it's real.
Yeah.
you know? Ah,
Yeah.
it's just spectacular. Just lights me up.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
Listen, there hasn't been much lately that's made me feel so good as to see what their expressions are when they genuinely feel something, whether
Yeah.
it be a one-on-one for their first time. And I've been so grateful. But I've been, the first to introduce a lot of people to energy healing.
Hmm.
And I definitely keep it as energy healing versus, because there's a lot other things that happen. But if I start to label everything, I don't know. I just feel I'm losing something by doing all that.
Yeah,
And
I
I'd rather
understand.
it just be, it's energy healing. Let's see what happens and
Yep.
see what you feel. Tell me about it after.
Yeah.
Um, But, I just think it's very easy to overcomplicate all of this is pretty much going to be my overall message. And I encourage healers to really just look into the simplicity, to go back to that, to what their roots may have been. Go back to that purity of the child, even though your childhood wasn't good. Trust me, I had some wonderful moments, but there were some really ugly and terrible moments. But
Yeah.
that makes me understand, and even like there's that quiet period in my life where, there was a lot of drinking and whatnot.
Hmm.
Um, all of that helps me understand my ups and downs is what makes me understand the person sitting with me
Hmm.
or being in a room with people that
Hmm.
go through things, and
Yeah.
that connection is real. That connection is something, you can't manufacture. So that's why it's just like the wounded healer is going to be the person you want to go to,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
I'm going to ask you a question that I've gotten many times over the last almost 2 decades. Um, there are some people that come out of these experiences with like true miraculous healings. I worked on a gal back in 2000, I think 7, and she came in looking yellow almost. I mean, just down and weak and tired and exhausted. You know what I mean? Just really, I didn't know what was wrong
Yes.
with her. I don't want to know anything, right? Let's just come
Right.
in and let's just let the energy do what it's supposed to do.
Right.
And her husband came with her. He sat in my living room watching TV for the whole hour. Um, After it was over with, she sat up, and she sat up with this energy that just was like, I just looked at her and I was like, huh. She was not yellow anymore. She was completely normal skin color. Her energy was back. She was like, suddenly was like, had a movement, and like, and I was like, you look different. And she goes, I feel so much better. So what I had found out then was she had lupus. And
Uh-huh.
and of course, in 2007, I didn't really know what that was. I had to look it up afterwards. But
Hmm.
she walked out of the room, and her husband looks at her, and he had to do a double take, and he was like, "Oh my God, you look like a completely different woman." So
Wow.
my question is, some people have these really, truly magnificent experiences. Some people don't. Some people don't have that healing. They don't have that coming out of it feeling uplifted, or their pain lessened, or whatever. People ask why. Why do some, and why don't some?
Okay. So that is a really, really great question. Um, and what I find is in an instance with that woman that you spoke of, I want to say to you that she probably didn't have any expectations at all. She just probably said, this is just another thing for me to try. I'm going to try and we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what I can, but I'm pretty sure that she had absolutely no expectation. Like she was just losing, she was getting more down in the dumps as this thing continued. So what I find is when people don't have that expectation is really when magic truly happens. And I really think that's the biggest thing because I think sometimes people come in, they hear you're a healer, or they're like, fix me. That's when I honestly will say, you need to leave. I'm not, you need to get that out of your mind. That's not what we do here. Um, but I think that not having an expectation and them being open to receive, I always ask everybody to just in their mind to say that they're open to receive,
Mm.
because I think that's so important. Um, and I said without doing those things, uh, and also some people will have resistance, whether they know it or not. They're not ready to get rid of certain things, and you know what? That's okay. Um, but I feel the people with the most miraculous, um, spontaneous, look at me, I can't believe that this is how I am now kind of thing, are the people that didn't have an expectation at all. That's what I found. Yeah.
So come in with absolutely no expectations.
Yeah, just throw it out the window. That's it. You know, again, go into that area and that place of, let's see what happens versus, yeah, I'm going to this healer. He's going to fix me or he's going to help me. That's just the wrong way I feel to look at it.
Mhm.
It's not going to serve you,
Well, it's not.
versus,
It-
yeah,
yeah, it's not. And I don't subscribe to the belief that it's us that's fixing them. We're holding the space, and it's
right,
them that are healing themselves. You know,
right.
it's their own soul, it's their own connection, it's their own being.
But,
And
but a lot of people, especially unfortunately healers, they think a little different. And it's that gray area, but I always try to tell people, and I don't get me wrong, I lose in conversation sometimes. I never forget that it's not me. But
Mhm,
I'll say I when I usually mean we. But if I'm saying we, people are looking around like, who's he talking to or
mhm,
talking about? And I know obviously this is a
mhm.
different kind of platform where I can talk like that, but um, allowing that flow, whatever that is for that individual, that person to, or holding that space like you're saying. Um, a lot of, I want to say a lot of healers, they go in a different direction with that. Ego kind of, ego is an important part in life, but they
It
just
has its
kind of their
function.
heads, it has
Mhm.
the head starts to
Yep.
move a little bit in the wrong direction there. So
Oh,
that's how I look at that.
Roland, this has been fabulous. Thank
It's
you
been fun.
so much for being here. Um, uh, I would like you to let everybody know where they can find you. And your do you do group healings online? Do you do it all in person? Let us know where we can find you, what you got coming up.
Okay, so that's interesting. The group healing online is something I've been kicking around with somebody. Um, I'm going to try that as an experiment coming up soon. But yes, it does work. There is a space that I do group healings, and I'll let you know when it comes because I'd love for you to be a guest to
Please,
experience it. But it's in person and Zoom. So we'll let you know when that happens. That's going to be actually this month sometime, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check. Um, I could check right now, but I don't want to take too much time about talking.
it's all right. It's all
But
right. What's your
I
website?
work. Okay, so I'll spell it out if I can remember how to spell my own name. Buddhawk healing healing.com. Or it
Buddhahawk
could just be,
Healing.
yeah, or buddhahawk.com. They will both take you. I'm so used to saying Buddhahawk healing, but I got Buddhahawk, so I got happy about that.
You got both of them. That's
Um,
awesome. It's helpful.
yeah. Yep. And on there, you can find my link tree and you can find all my social media on there. And that's probably the easiest way to go about finding everything that I'm doing. But I'm located in Wayne, New Jersey, out of the Integrated Holistic Center
Okay.
with Dr. Matt Singer, which I'm very proud and grateful to be in that space with him. Um,
That's beautiful. That's divinely guided
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, he's awesome.
So, all right, I'll have all of that in the notes. Everybody, it'll be in the show notes on the podcast. It'll be in the show notes on the YouTube video. And Roland, before we go, what would you like to leave the people with the people that might be grieving, the people that might have chronic pain, the people that might have be struggling with PTSD or past traumas that are raising their ugly heads? What words of advice might you have?
Well, now that you're saying that with all those people, I'm like, oh my God, I just want to send energy out to everybody. Um, I want them to do their best to remember they're not alone. I want them to take breaths, but more importantly, I think I would ask people to try to remember other things. Try to not, you're not avoiding. It's so easy for us as people to kind of go down a rabbit hole and spiral down, but the things that stop it is when we shift our mindset. Not too long ago, I was in that space, and it was somebody simply reminding me, be grateful. So gratitude changed my mindset, because you can't think of both things at once. But, have those people reach out to, people who are authentics that want to genuinely help other people.
Mm.
Just they have to know there's groups out there that just send love. They just send
Oh.
love. They don't,
Mhm.
they just outright say, hey, we're going to get together tonight. We're going to send love. I think that's one of the most beautiful things. And when I can, I try to join in.
Mhm.
Um, but the other people that are going through all that trauma, I'm going to say, try to remember that little child and how pure and innocent that was, and let them help you through your now. Bring them forward with that love, with that innocence. Let that fill your soul to help you take those next steps forward.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Roland. Everybody
Thank
out
you.
there listening who might be struggling, Roland is here for you. I am here for you. You reach out, you email, you DM, whatever it takes. We'll hold the space for you however we can. And
Absolutely.
Roland, thank you so much for being here. I love you to smithereens. You are a beautiful human
Thank you.
being. Beautiful.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here with me for another episode of Something Super Spiritual. I'll be back with another exciting guest next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you again for listening to the Something Super Spiritual podcast. If you know someone who would enjoy this episode, please do share it with a friend. For show notes, links, and to purchase a mediumship reading, my website is somethingsuperspiritual.com. You can also easily subscribe and follow the show on your favorite app, sign up for my newsletter for bonus content, and to keep the conversation going, you can easily join the Facebook community. It's all right there at the website, somethingsuperspiritual.com. Signing off for now, namaste.